Kenya isn't taking over East Africa with force. It's doing it quietly, through systems. No wars, no invasions, no headlines screaming domination. But if you look closely, Kenya is positioning itself at the center of how East Africa works, how money moves, how goods travel, and how businesses grow. Start with the most powerful tool of all, money. Across East Africa, Kenyan banks have expanded aggressively. Walk into cities like Kampala, Kigali, or Juba, and you'll see names like Equity Bank and KCB Group everywhere. These aren't just branches. They are systems embedded into other economies. They finance businesses, issue loans, handle salaries, and control large portions of financial transactions. And here's the reality. When your economy depends on foreign banks to function smoothly, those banks don't just participate. They influence. Quietly. Consistently. At scale. Now move from money to movement. Infrastructure is where strategy becomes visible. The standard gauge railway is often talked about as a passenger train, but that's a small part of the story. Its real value is cargo, speed, efficiency, control of logistics. Because East Africa has a key weakness, several countries are landlocked. Uganda, Rwanda, South Sudan. They need access to the sea. And right now, Kenya is positioning itself as that access point. Which brings us to the coast. The Port of Mombasa is not just a Kenyan asset, it's a regional lifeline. A massive portion of imports and exports for neighboring countries pass through it. Fuel, electronics, food, construction materials, everything flows through this port before spreading across the region. And Kenya understands this leverage. That's why it's expanding capacity and investing in alternatives like the Lamu port under the Lapset corridor. This isn't just development, it's strategy. More ports mean more routes, more control, and less reliance on a single channel. It strengthens Kenya's position as the gateway to East Africa. But here's where things get even more subtle. Digital dominance. Kenya didn't just build physical infrastructure, it built financial infrastructure in people's pockets. M-Pesa changed how money is used entirely. Sending, receiving, paying bills, it all became instant. Now imagine that system spreading beyond Kenya. When businesses and individuals across East Africa start relying on Kenyan-developed financial systems, Kenya isn't just exporting technology, it's exporting dependency. The region begins to move at Kenya's pace, using Kenya's platforms, and then comes corporate expansion. Kenyan companies don't stay local, they scale outward. Banks, insurance firms, logistics companies, retail chains, they enter neighboring markets with stronger capital, better systems, and more experience. Local competitors often can't keep up. So what happens? Market share slowly shifts. Influence slowly grows. Control becomes less visible, but more real. Now step back and connect everything. Money flows through Kenyan banks. Goods move through Kenyan ports. Transport depends on Kenyan infrastructure. Transactions run on Kenyan systems. That's not luck, that's positioning. But here's the part most people ignore. This strategy is not bulletproof. Kenya is also under pressure. The SGR, for example, cost billions and remains controversial. Questions about profitability and debt sustainability haven't gone away. Infrastructure dominance only works if it remains efficient and affordable. Otherwise, countries start looking for alternatives, and they already are. Tanzania is expanding its ports to compete directly with Mombasa. Ethiopia is investing heavily in alternative corridors. Regional players are realizing the risk of overdependence on one country. So while Kenya is building influence, others are building resistance. And that's where the real battle begins. Not with weapons, but with infrastructure, trade routes, and economic alliances. Because dominance in East Africa isn't permanent. It shifts, it evolves, it gets challenged. Right now, Kenya has an edge. It has the systems, the experience, and the strategic position. But the question is simple. Can it hold that grip? Or is this just the beginning of a much bigger regional power struggle?